You're spending good money on Microsoft 365. You've got SharePoint, you've got antivirus, maybe you're even running endpoint detection and response software, and you feel pretty good about your security posture. And then one of your staff members accidentally shares your entire finance folder with a client contact. And now you've got a problem. We work with a lot of businesses in healthcare, accounting, and legal. And I can tell you the question isn't, could this happen to us? It's, when it does, are we ready? Today, we're going to talk about Microsoft Purview, which is Microsoft's answer to that question. And I'll be honest with you, it's been around for a few years, and a lot of businesses are sitting on licenses they're not even using. So let's fix that. Your company's data is everywhere. It's in email, it's in Teams chats, it's in SharePoint, it's on people's laptops, and if you're like most businesses, some of it's probably in places you've completely forgotten about. Purview is the system that goes and finds all of that, figures out what's sensitive and puts the right labels on it, and then makes sure it doesn't go somewhere it shouldn't. If you've watched our SharePoint video over here, which is a really good primer for this one, you'll remember that Copilot, when you enable it, gets a copy of your key card, your credentials, and it can go anywhere in SharePointville that you can go. Well, Purview is what makes sure that sensitive rooms are actually locked before you hand that key card over to an AI. More on that in a second. There are 5 things that Purview does, and I want to walk through each one quickly, make it pretty simple before we get into the specific industry and why you should care. 1, it finds and classifies your sensitive data automatically. Credit card numbers, health record numbers, SIN, confidential contracts. It scans for all of it and applies sensitivity labels. 2, it stops data from going where it shouldn't. This is called data loss prevention, or DLP. It's a very common acronym in our industry. If someone tries to attach a confidential file to a personal Gmail or paste sensitive data into ChatGPT, Purview can block it or at a minimum warn them. 3, it manages what you keep and what you delete. Automated retention and deletion policies so you're not keeping things longer than you need to or accidentally deleting things you're required to keep. 4, when something goes wrong, and eventually something always goes wrong, right? It helps you find what you need fast. E-discovery, audit logs, going back years. If a lawyer calls, you're ready. 5, it watches for risky behavior inside your organization. An employee who's leaving next week and suddenly downloads everything in SharePoint, Purview is going to flag that. Okay, here's where I want to slow down because this isn't the same conversation for everybody. If you're in healthcare, you already know that PIPEDA and PIHIPA, which is super awkward to say, aren't suggestions. Patient data is the most regulated information in the country, and the consequences of a breach aren't just financial, they're reputational. Your patients or your residents trust you with the most personal information they have. Purview automatically identifies health record information across your Microsoft 365 environment. It classifies it, and it can prevent it from being shared outside your organization without the right permissions. It also gives you the audit logs to prove to regulators that you handled it properly, and that defensibility probably matters. In accounting, you're sitting on a gold mine of sensitive information. Client tax returns, corporate financials, SINs, banking information, and a lot of that is getting passed around in email and shared in Teams. We have seen it countless times. The CPA Code of Professional Conduct requires you to protect client confidentiality. And I didn't know somebody shared it is not going to be a defense. Purview's DLP policies can literally stop a staff member from emailing a client's financial file to the wrong person. Not warn them after, stop them before. Solicitor-client privilege is one of the foundational pillars of your profession, and it can be compromised by a single misdirected email. Legal firms also face the added complexity of managing documents across multiple matters, retaining things for the right amount of time, and being able to produce communications quickly when they're needed for litigation or regulatory review. Purview's records management capability, they are incredible. With their e-discovery, it's basically built for you. You can set retention policies by matter type, and when you get served with a discovery request, you can produce what you need without paying a forensic firm to dig through a decade of email. Okay, I want to come back to something that I mentioned earlier, because this is becoming more and more relevant. When you deploy Microsoft Copilot in your organization, it's like setting off a little robot into the environment to just go sniff around everything. It can access everything in Microsoft 365 that the user has permission to access. If your permissions are messy, and most organizations' permissions are messier than they think, Copilot is going to surface things that it shouldn't. A normal user might never stumble across a file that was accidentally left open, but Copilot will find it. Purview is what you put in place before you turn on Copilot. It makes sure your sensitive data is labeled, your permissions are clean, and your DLP policies are in place. Microsoft actually bundles the two together, and right now there's a pretty compelling pricing reason to look at that bundle, which leads me to Microsoft recently simplified all of this into something called the Purview Suite. Instead of buying 6 or 7 separate compliance add-ons, it's one SKU that includes everything I just talked about. For most of you watching this, the relevant version of Purview Suite is for Business Premium. It sits on top of Microsoft 365 Business Premium at around $14 Canadian per user per month. If you're already running Business Premium, this is the add-on that unlocks that full compliance stack. There's also Purview Suite for Enterprise for larger organizations running Microsoft 365 E3, which brings them up to the E5 equivalent compliance. If you're already running Copilot, there's currently a 50% discount on the Purview Suite bundle for existing Copilot customers, which is about as good a deal as Microsoft ever offers on anything. And there's a broader promotional pricing window running until July 2026. So if this is on your radar, now is genuinely a good time to move. We work with a lot of businesses in regulated industries, and the honest truth is that most of them don't have a data governance problem until they do. Purview is one of those tools that sits quietly in the background doing its job right up until the moment that you really need it, and then you're really glad it's there. If you want to know whether your Microsoft 365 environment is set up properly to take advantage of this, reach out to us at Adaptive. We'd love to take a look. In this ever-changing IT landscape, be adaptive. We'll see you next time.